Since falling ill 17 years ago, one of the qualities I've come to cherish is the ability to be resourceful. To me, this means being able to rise above the obstacles posed by sickness by using the small elements of life to my creative advantage. Cultivating resourcefulness in this way has made all the difference in my being able to thrive despite adversity. Fortunately, I already seem to have had some of this within me when illness struck. I've often wondered if any of it came from my childhood years in Egypt. You see, my family found the Egyptians to be a highly resourceful people, a people who had a knack for being clever and creative in the face of challenges. I can't help but think that my experiences there came partly to shape my resourcefulness. I'll share with you a small example, which occurred one year as Christmas approached. My brother and I prepared for the nativity pageant at our church. We had a new baby brother, and it was his first Christmas, so my parents were in a mood to celebrate. One day, my mother took me to a candy shop in Cairo, located on a narrow, winding alley off a main street. As I stared at the rows of jars filled with brightly colored candy, my mother asked the owner if he could make candy canes for our family. The man had never heard of such a thing. So my mother drew one on a piece of paper and tried to describe its flavor. Fortunately for us, the candy maker had such a resourceful spirit that from that scrap of paper, he not only created candy canes for our family, but he made them in a dazzling array of colors, the likes of which we have never seen before or since. He had the imagination and the vision to make the difficult and unknown into the possible and finally the real. This is a small example of what I witness as the Egyptians' highly developed skills in the art of the possible. Perhaps no one epitomized resourcefulness more than Ayad, our town's plumber. Ayad was an enterprising fellow who also owned a bicycle shop and sold real estate on the side. He would arrive at our house on his dented bicycle with a ball of string and a wad of rubber bands in the basket that hung over his handlebar. These were his tools because he didn't have plumbing parts. My father always got a kick out of watching Ayad as he wrapped string around our faucets and tied things together with rubber bands, because those plumbing repairs lasted just as well as any repairs back in the United States, and for a lot less money. When I fell ill suddenly after being exposed to toxic chemicals in a new office building, I thought back to this Egyptian resourcefulness and wanted to develop a like quality further in myself. I especially needed to cope with the way that my sickness had wiped out about 80% of the potential that I had when I was healthy. So becoming more flexible and creative in the face of challenges could help me maximize the 20% of my potential that I had left. In my book, I've written about the various ways I've used this ability to be resourceful to help me improve my quality of life. But perhaps the most important way has been in finding healthcare providers who can help me with a little understood illness. Finding effective healthcare has been critical in making it possible for me to pursue my dream of living in Paris part of each year. It has taken so much creativity to make this happen. You see, during my first 4-month stay in Paris, things didn't go well with my health. I developed new health problems here, such as my hair falling out, I got pneumonia, I suffered from constant pain and nausea. By the time I returned to Seattle, I had to be hospitalized immediately. So you might imagine that months later, when I told one of my Seattle doctors that I wanted to return to Paris for another long stay, even before these new health problems were totally cleared up, she wasn't very happy with me. She sensibly encouraged me to wait until the health problems were fully resolved before returning to France. Instead, I proposed to her, what if I assemble a healthcare team in Paris and we just think in terms of my continuing to heal over there? The task wasn't easy, especially because my illness is so little understood, nor do I speak fluent French. I spent many an hour researching healthcare in Paris, but I also did things like write down my health history and have it translated into French so that I could give it to any healthcare providers I see here. I even took French lessons to practice conducting healthcare appointments in French, because I found that when here, if I'm not using the exact words that a healthcare provider would typically use, he or she gets distracted by trying to figure out what I'm trying to say or by correcting my French. Once back in Paris for the second time, when I started developing pneumonia all over again, and it was critical that healthcare providers understand my every word, I asked French friends to write down my symptoms in French so there was no room for misunderstanding. Not only was I alarmed that I might end up in the hospital again, and even worse, in a foreign country, but I also worried that if I returned to Seattle in bad shape again, my Seattle doctor might quit me. In the United States, we talk a lot about the importance of having a positive attitude when facing major challenges. But I think that possessing certain skills can be every bit as important, and the ability to be resourceful would be one of them. In the end, I found out that hard times helped me to develop a creative resourcefulness, far more than times of ease and abundance. Since we all live with different kinds of adversity or in times of not having enough of something, whether it's not enough health or not enough money, I now value this ability to be resourceful just as much as having a positive attitude. If you'd like to see a movie about my story, filmed here in Paris by documentary filmmaker Jack Matitiahu, go to my website and click on the link, My Movie.